As she mentioned, we'll be focusing on navigating pathways. Now, I think as a mentor, the important thing is to realize really you're still talking about speeches, speech development, acclimating the member to the club, all those things that we've done before. But then we throw in this online monstrosity called pathways that I've found often is an obstacle to people becoming mentors because they think they have to be experts. I just want to take a tour of what we need to know. I'd like to say I think every club should have one or two people who knows really all the nitty gritty when you get the really technical questions, but as mentors, just having a general understanding of how our mentees need to access the learning modules, being able to check their progress, complete their projects, things like that. Before we begin, we have a small group. Why don't we just take a very quick minute if you'd like to introduce yourself and let us know where you're coming from. We could start with Melissa.
Sure. Excuse me. I'm out of the Select Club in Syracuse, New York.
Okay, well, thank you, Melissa. And Dorothy?
Yes, I'm coming from Houston, Texas.
Okay. And Lisa?
I am in New Jersey, but my club is in Philadelphia. It's a corporate club, TransUnion, Philadelphia.
Okay. And Anne?
Yes, hi. I'm a member of 5 clubs. I'm from District 38, but I expanded myself into other districts so I could grow and learn. And I'm here to learn from my mentor, Thaine Shetter.
Well, thank you, Anne. And District Director Rhonda?
District 38, the best. I know I'm in good company, Melissa and Dorothy.
Okay. And in case we didn't mention it, mostly, I know Dorothy knows and Lisa knows, but for Melissa's standpoint, District 38 is Central and Southern New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania. And I pale in Anne's shadow. I'm only in 3 clubs. I'm in Princeton, ETS, which is Educational Testing Service, those people that make all the standardized educational tests, and a club called Talk of Monmouth, which is actually in our adjacent district. So as we mentioned, pathways, I'd like to just quickly hit the highlights. So I'm going to go to, I've already signed on to my page in toastmasters.org. This should all look familiar at this point. I'm going to go to Basecamp, where the magic happens. Okay, now, are any or all of you Basecamp administrators? Okay. Well, now I think probably the majority of our members, and Rhonda and Ann can correct me, I would say the majority of members belong to one club. But here's where you select which club you want to interact with or on behalf of. And then, of course, the club that you need to interact with as a Basecamp manager. To look at a lot of the things we're going to see tonight, I'm going to go in as a Basecamp manager just so you can see some of the reports. So I'm just clicking on that. And of course, this is the night we have there we are. Okay. And actually, let me take all that back. I'm going to back up. We'll come to this a little later. I want to go in and pretending I'm just a regular member without Basecamp administrative support. I'm going to go in, we'll say through the Princeton Club. And this is something that all of our members need to be aware of. I'm finding even several years into pathways, people don't know where to get evaluation forms. So of course, our middle tab here are speech evaluations. And if we, here is an evaluation form for every speech progress. Even after 22 years, I can't speak some nights, for each Pathways speech project. And one thing I found that I'll mention, let's just say we're going to connect with storytelling. And depending on where you are, you may have to click different buttons since I've already accessed this training earlier. But I'm just launching the project. One thing I found that stymies a few people, now these are fillable PDFs. And for them to remain fillable PDFs, you need to save them. Okay, let's say you've opened this up. Now, this is still a fillable PDF, meaning that you can type into it, which is especially helpful if you're sending evaluation forms via email. One thing, for this to remain in that form, when you save it, you need to click on this little icon with the pencil arrow. It's a Save As button. So every time that you save it, you're going to overwrite the existing file. And the only reason I mention this is I'm finding even a lot of seasoned members just didn't realize that, and they're very frustrated by the fact that they can't type into the PDF. So I'm hoping I'm not closing everything here, which I just did. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, sorry about that. And okay, let's get to the more interesting things. Okay, let's say your mentee is working on a particular project. Okay, so as you've probably all been, they go into their education transcript. And here's a listing of all the pathways which they have access to. I actually have all 11 here. And if we open the curriculum, say for effective coaching, now the thing I often use here is on the left where you see levels 1, 2, 3, 4. If you'll see on levels 1, 2, and 3, there's a blue or a white check mark to the left of it. That means that level has been completed. So let's say that means in effective coaching, I'm ready to be working in level 4. So I'm going to click on level 4. And we can see here, I still have the improvement through positive coaching project. And I think Anne will agree. It's been a challenge having a number of members that they're happy to give the speech, but they really don't go through the Basecamp training project. So I've activated and launched it. And I would really encourage them to, go through each project. It's maybe 10 minutes because it's always a chance to learn. And I found even after 22 years, there's something I can learn. So again, I bring all this up because we probably have members who have given speeches but have never been into the learning modules. and they're all very nicely self-paced. You can go forward and back. And it's especially important to make sure that they assess their skills before the speech, answering, I think it's usually 5 questions, and then after they present the project to assess them afterwards. And once they take that after the speech skills assessment, that will reflect the project as being completed. And I'm going to probably click the wrong button and knock myself out again. Here we are. So that's the required project. And then if we go into electives, and that's another important thing you might help your mentees realize. I've had a number of members go, well, I don't have time to give 14 speeches, not realizing in the elective projects, it's one project out of the 8 that are possible. As you can see here, I've completed the managing the online meetings portion of this project. So for level 4, I have, if I click back on level 4 and go back up a level, I still have the improvement through positive coaching speech. So are there any questions or comments at this point on this?
Thane, I have a question regarding the ratings when you do
Yes.
your before and after. This is a discussion I have all the time with people. There are some people who give themselves 5. I never give myself a 5 because I feel as if there's always room to grow, learn. So I normally give myself a 4, but don't give myself 5. So I'm just curious to know how anyone else feels about that. Do you give yourself 5s?
Well, I think honestly, the only time I give myself a 5 is on the last question, where it says something to the effect of, I understand the importance of this project in my life outside of Toastmasters. Because I realize, what I'm learning here isn't just for Toastmasters. These are lessons that I can take into other aspects of my life. So I think that's the only time I ever have given myself a 5 is on that particular question. But I would agree with you. There's always room to learn more and become more effective. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll leave this. And once again, okay. Okay. So is everyone fairly comfortable about finding the speech evaluation forms and helping your potential mentees move through the education transcript? Okay. I guess my next question is, how many of you are Basecamp administrators? I see Lisa and Ann, and Rhonda probably has been at some point in her life.
My hand's still not working.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to show you quick things. I'm going to log out of this portion. You can see it in the upper right here by my little picture, in the upper right hand corner of the screen. Just put my cursor on the cogwheel, and I'm going to log out so I can leave this portion of the website. And you know how you just normally move through all this with no problems, and then you're sharing with everybody and you can't get the can't get the screens to cooperate where you want to be. I think we have all these extra bars. Here we are. I'm going to go back into Basecamp. Okay, I just wanted to look quickly at some things you can see if you are a Basecamp manager. So to be a Basecamp manager, you need to either be the club president, vice president of education, or secretary. So I only have Basecamp manager access for my ETS club. And I'm going to take a look at member progress, the middle tab here. So this is a chance, especially if you're a VPE or a president, just to get an idea of where your members are in terms of their progress through the program. Now, it's important to realize, of course, this reflects their activity on Basecamp. And if they've given lots of speech projects without interacting with Basecamp, it's not going to be reflected here. So but this at least gives you an idea. One thing that's helpful, I'm going to look at the path progress, the third option here. I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking. Level completion's the second. Now, one thing that took me a while to understand, I'm going to go to the second one here. As my cursor moves around, if you see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, the little down arrow miraculously appears. So if you don't know that that is there, you might not find it. I'm going to go over here and refresh the screen. And it's refreshing. Basecamp's always been a little bit slow. Of course, I'm probably looking at the wrong thing now. You can also look at details. And this is particularly helpful because at the bottom here, you can see the members' names and the particular projects and when they were completed. So sometimes I've had members get a little confused and they're not sure if they completed something or not. And this is a place to look to see if they have been able to address it. Now, one thing I should bring up, and Anne might be able to shed more light on this than me. I haven't had a chance to research it fully, but one thing to be aware of in the coming year, 2024, Basecamp is going to undergo some changes. Some of the pathways will no longer be available for purchase. I think they're out of the 11, 6 of them are being retained. If you're currently working on a project, you can continue working on that project, but not able to start new projects in some of the pathways. And would you offhandedly know which paths are being retained?
Yes, I can tell you which ones are not being retained is strategic relationships, team collaboration, effective coaching, and there's one more because it's going from 11 to 6.
Engaging
Right.
humor.
Engaging humor, they're keeping.
They are. Okay, I thought
They're,
that
they're,
one was
they're
out.
keeping presentation mastery, engaging humor, leadership development,
It's good.
persuasive influence, I think they're keeping. Yeah, I had the list, but let me check on that and I'll get right back to you.
Okay. But the important thing to realize is that change is coming up. I'm not exactly sure on the timing. I don't think it's necessarily January 1.
I think it is, Thaine.
No,
It is. Okay.
It
But
isn't?
so
No.
if you're
second half.
you know,
Second half, okay.
if a member has already started in a path, they can continue it through its completion, but they will not be able to purchase it new after, I guess, December 31st.
Once they launch the new platform, that's when that will take effect.
And to Anne's statement. I believe the platform itself is changing a bit. I don't know all the details, but that is something that to be aware of. And we could probably send out a link later that would detail the information if people are interested in having that. But I know, as with anything, there will probably be some confusion, but just for people to realize that they can continue working in a path that they've already started. Now I'm presuming that I can, if it takes me 20 years to finish, I can do it or not, Ann?
Well, the other two that are, it's innovative planning, and they're getting rid of one of the leadership paths, leadership development. So the paths being dropped are effective coaching, innovative planning, leadership development, strategic relationships, and team collaboration. What they kept was the six most popular paths, and then they're going to come out with another. What are they going to call it? They're going to call it explorations. And that's going to be what they're going to do. They're going to bring out explorations, which will be specific. And they said, initially they did say the first quarter of 2024, but now they pushed it out to like the second quarter of 2024. They're really not sure.
Maybe by the third.
But you are right. If you have those paths and are working on them, you'll continue to work in them. But when the new platform launches, you just won't see, you will see it in the old format, in the old view, that will continue. You won't see it in their new view that they're creating for when they update the platform, because they're not moving those projects over.
Well, Nan, that's probably an idea for a master class in the coming year. Pathways changes. Oh, those are some highlights of things that just basically would need to know as a mentor in case your mentee has some general questions. Now, this last part we looked at, most mentees probably are not going to have access to it, but I just wanted you to be aware of it, because I think it was several months before I discovered that there was that little arrow in the upper right that brought up all sorts of information when you clicked on it. So I'll stop sharing for now. Does anyone find that they have anything they'd like to talk about further or look at in a different way?
I know that we're using Basecamp. We also train our people about making sure that they enter their information through FreeToast Host so that we can track through FreeToast Host through the administrative report where we can see when someone did a speech on a given date. If we're not able to track it it's just an additional way to track it is through FreeToast Host. But I just want to complain because those 6 that are being left, I'm already either working on 5 of them or completed with them. And we were talking about redoing icebreakers. Some of those, I don't want to go back through them again because some of them were very challenging to make it through those paths. Now, nobody from Toastmasters International called me and asked me, but I'm just voicing my opinion here tonight.
Well, I guess one thought, you might want to repurchase some paths just so you can work on things that interest you before they're no longer available. One thing I'd like to, let me quickly share this. I think I can add, I think I should thank Ann for this perhaps. I was sent a spreadsheet of every path and every project, and as I complete them, I black them out, and it just gives me a quick visual of where I'm at in everything. And especially if I'm I'm one of those people often called on at the last minute to give a speech because there was a cancellation in the club or something. So it gives me a quick way to look and see, well, what projects am I trying to still complete? And do I have a speech that I can develop that would meet the criteria for that particular project? So, you know, we just, there's a, you know, tab for each level, and it's just a quick way to keep track of everything. And I found it to be very helpful. And I think, Anne, I think I have you to thank for that, right?
That's probably one of several I found that I sent you because I'm always on the internet looking. And especially on Toastmasters International Facebook page, people contribute there and add information. They share their tips. And that's truly how I found some Pathways individual tracking sheets. And that is one of the spreadsheets. Yes, there are several out there and I have them all.
Well,
I
to
think.
Anne's point, you know, don't necessarily restrict your research to official Toastmaster websites. I found the Facebook page to be very, well, it's a wine fest at some levels, but it's also very helpful at other levels.
Yeah, people definitely want to share their information on there. And some of them are past district directors from other districts. The one spreadsheet I found that she developed for tracking paths, also they've developed forms for Canva that with Toastmasters branding as well. You know, I love Mr. Google. I type in there all the time to Mr. Google, and I find so many treasures about Toastmasters. And just don't restrict yourself to your own district. Go out to the other districts and see what kind of information they have out there as well. Some of them have great information about pathways because each district presents their information differently. And we have an awesome site that Cheryl Rouse showed me that I didn't know existed on District 38 the last time she presented. And that was phenomenal. Now I go out there and I look at that. But really, Mr. Google is your best friend. And sometimes Mr. Bing, but I prefer Mr. Google over Mr. Bing.
And then I have to give a plug for David Bennett, who hails from our district. He has a very comprehensive tracker for pathways under our resource list. There's also other trackers that have been borrowed from district, I believe it's 62. So
Yes.
we have multiple trackers on our website.
Yes, I agree with you, Rhonda. David Bennett. Yep. When he had them a few years ago, I have them too. I download them and they are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. District 38 has an awesome website of resources for pathways. There's so much information out there. And we're fortunate to have an excellent webmaster in Michael. And he does webs for some other districts as well, I know. And you can tell because you can go to their websites and you can see. I mean, he has a template and it's beautiful. So any other questions for Thaine at this point? Melissa? Lisa? Dorothy?
Good, I think. Melissa, you're on mute. You still are
Can't
not
hear you.
hearing. Are you double muted?
How do you double mute yourself?
Trust me, I've done it. You don't want to know.
Well, I would probably triple mute myself then.
With your headset, with the Zoom or your laptop, you could be triple muted.
You could.
And end up talking to myself.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, when you were showing us the pathways, one thing that I do is, and I use it for our officer meetings, I download it and I take it from the Excel spreadsheet. So I take each level and put it in one Excel spreadsheet. So then each tab at the bottom, I rename it. So it'll be level 1 progress. Then it'll show level 1 progress with the graph. Then I do level 2. Then I do level 3. Then I do level 4. And then I do level 5. And I found that to be very helpful.
I have to do mine in order. I
have
skip
to,
around
but
a
you
little
have
bit.
those ones who don't. They want to make your life difficult.
You know what I say? I say, Toastmasters built the platform.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they put the paths in the order, or the projects in the order that they did, because they build upon one another. And especially as a new Toastmaster, those level 1s are crucial. They're your building blocks. And so
I
they
don't,
build on that, and then you go.
I don't know why somebody goes to, like, they'll do level 1, but like then he was working on level 4. I said, why would you go to level 4? Why didn't you do level 2? Oh, well, I just skipped around. He did everything in level 4, so I couldn't not give him credit for it. But to your point, I'm a progression person, and I think that they're designed to be 1, 2, 3, 4. They wouldn't name it 5, 2, 3, 1. Like, it makes
Right.
sense.
But Lisa, I will say this to the, and I am by the book. I am sequential, very legalistic. I am. However, if I have a project that fits something, I will look to see what a speech or project fits. So to me, that may be a good reason to circumnavigate
And
the
reinvent.
sequential
Yes.
nature, and especially in leadership and in mentorship, where we often speak for free, get credit for everything you do if possible. So I would rather someone skip around than just follow that line. But I'm like you, the levels definitely are progressive, and it helps to build on the skills that you learned previously and continue to augment little by little.
And that's especially true for new Toastmasters, experienced Toastmasters who have been around the block, who have done speeches, who have their DTMs. When I first did my path, I went straight through until on my initial path. Now, like Rhonda says, once you're in leadership roles, a Toastmaster should never speak for free. You always get evaluated, even if it's a generic form, and you apply that to the more difficult electives in levels 3, 4, and 5, and especially the professional speaking one. Like, oh my God, how am I going to do that one? Well, if you're giving a seminar, or if you're training, giving a presentation, or even if you're facilitating an specific officer training, get someone in that breakout room to evaluate you. That's your professionally speaking project, because that's a half an hour to an hour session. There you go. It's 20 to 25 minutes. You've covered it. That's how we get paid. We get paid by our evaluations, and that's how you can get and move through your paths a little bit easier and quicker. But I'm going to turn it back to Rhonda and Thaine, and I'm going to be quiet because I could talk forever about Toastmaster.
You better believe her. Okay. Well, are there any last questions, comments, observations?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. So thank you so much. The spreadsheets I did not realize were out there, so I was able to locate those, and that should help me figure out, because I'm right now I'm stuck. I'm doing presentation mastery, and I started level 4, and all the speeches for level 4 involve like other people, and it's more difficult. So I'm thinking I'm just going to start a new pathway. So I think these spreadsheets will help me out.
Well, one question, your meetings live, virtual, hybrid?
In person.
Okay.
Don't start a new path. Presentation mastery is a wonderful path, and it teaches you all your basics. Don't start a new path. complete that. Complete that. Because you have a lot of work and time invested in that,
Mm.
right?
Right.
And if you need help with backtracking it, I'll put my email in there and I will help you complete your tracking record. You have so much time invested in that path. You want to reap the rewards of your efforts in that path. If you want to buy another path and start, yes, but you're probably so close, you're probably halfway through that path. That's a lot of work.
Right.
And one thought, are there other clubs physically near you at all?
Yes.
Do you know people in those clubs?
Yes, like some of our members are
Okay.
members of the other clubs.
Well, one thing, especially these projects like a panel discussion or something that involves other people,
Mhm.
if you can get one or two people from outside of your club to come in and be part of that, it adds some interest for your club members and a new challenge for you as well.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a wonderful path.
as much variety as we can introduce to the meetings, it keeps it fresh for everybody.
True. Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. Well, I thank you all for coming. I trust, well, we learned one or two new things. I'd certainly like to thank Anne and Rhonda for their presence this evening. Anne for organizing all this, Rhonda for having the foresight to appoint Anne to organize all this. I found Anne to be a wonderful resource. She must have a terrific mentor.
He's the best. I'll have to give you his name someday.
Then I think you'd like him.
Similar personality to me.
Yep. You
Okay.
actually resemble a little bit too.
Okay. Probably has more hair though, right?
He used to.
In my 20s. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you in some future sessions that I'm sure Anne will be organizing.
Thank
And
you
we have
very
some
much.
exciting ones coming up. We have a Gavel Club coming up next Wednesday on November 15th. And our public relations manager is going to do one on November 30th. That is going to teach you how to market your club. I wouldn't want to miss either one of them. In Gavel Clubs, you can learn it's not just for the incarcerated. It
Right.
can be used for Girl Scouts. Rhonda, tell us all about it, please.
Yeah, Gavel clubs are amazing. They bring the Toastmasters experience to groups and individuals who would not ordinarily qualify for Toastmasters memberships, most likely due to age, but there could be other circumstances like the incarceration piece. So this gives them the Toastmasters experience in an ongoing, perpetual nature, unlike Speechcraft, which is 4, 6, or 8 sessions, or YLP, which are 4, 6, or 8 sessions. So these are Toastmaster-like clubs in perpetuity. Of course, their achievements, educational awards don't qualify or translate to pathways or the educational program, but it still brings a wealth of information and knowledge to these individuals. And it's a great way to give back. It's a great way to continue to pour into people who may be underserved and overlooked. So I think the world of Gavel clubs, and my only experience has been the one for the juvenile, we call them residents, not prisoners. So it's been a great opportunity to help them be able to communicate when they go before the judicial panel, maybe lobbying their release, and also to take skills outside of those walls and that facility that are transferable for the rest of their lives. Some of the boys were they were fathers, and I told them the importance of being able to communicate, especially from a distance, with their children. And I think that really touched many of them and got them to listen up and participate and pay more attention.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thaine, I can't thank you enough. Great information, and you too for curating all of our great sessions.